All right, today we're with Larry Parker of Larry and The Loafers, early rock and roll greats that had a hit called Panama City Blues. And I have found out that Larry is big time toy collector and seller, and also metal art sculptor, which I don't think anybody I know that knows Larry knows that he also has these talents. How did you get into toy collecting?
Well, I was the manufacturer up for Southeast Toyota here in Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, and was down in Dothan calling on one of my dealers. And he said, let's go to lunch, but first I have to go by an antique shop to negotiate for a walnut bed that my wife has chosen for me to buy. So I'm going down to negotiate. Let's go by there and then we'll go to lunch. Well, I wasn't too excited about going to an antique shop since I had previously worked for a company called Saab out of Sweden, and my house was furnished in all ultramodern antiques from Denmark and from Sweden, and really had no desire or need or didn't understand anything about antiques at that particular juncture. And we left there and went to the antique shop, and the dealer was back negotiating, and the lady walked by me. I was looking at a tin bus, a tin toy bus from the 1930s, blue one, that was for sale. And when she walked by, I said, how much is this bus? And she said, $3. It was a retro looking bus, so it would fit in with my contemporary decorating in my house. So I bought that, and at the same time I saw a small cast iron truck, about, I don't know, maybe 6-7 inches long. And I said, how much is that? She said, $3. I said, okay. So I bought both those pieces and carried them home. And that weekend, as we did so many weekends, we entertained a lot. And there was a group of people there at the house. And someone noticed that I had placed it up on a shelf. Someone noticed it. Parker said, where'd you get that bus? And I said, I got it down in Dothan. And they said, how much did you pay for it? And I said, do what? How much did I pay for it? And he said, yeah. And I said, why would you ask that? He said, well, there's a place downtown on 2nd Avenue. And they've got windows, both their windows are filled with old toys, but they're hundreds of dollars. So the next morning, bright and early, I was down in front of Four Seas Antiques, and went in, looked around, did not see any toys. And as I started toward the door, the guy who was running the place said, is there anything in particular you're looking for? And I said, well, I was looking for old toys. He said, oh, I sold those to a guy that came from up north, came through here. I sold them to him. And I said, oh, wow, okay. And he said, but he left a flyer with me, a one-sheet flyer here with pictures and a list of things he's still looking for. And you can have it because I'm not going to get any more toys, I don't think. That's the first ones I've had, and maybe the last ones I have. So he gave it to me, and I got in the car and looked at the list and saw a picture, and there was that little stake bed truck, little cast iron truck that I had bought. It really is a doorstop. And he was going to pay $850 for that bus. So right off the bat, I knew that if I had paid $3 for it and sold it for $850, I would have doubled my money at that point. So I made a phone call to him. He asked questions about it, and I told him the condition, and he sent me a check with freight, and I sent it off to him and knew right then that I wanted to be an antique toy collector. It would allow me to still be a kid and still play with soldiers and shoot marbles and run through the neighborhood with a cap gun without going to jail. So it grew into a collection. I ended up sponsoring the Atlanta Antique Toy Doll and Train Show, the Tampa Antique Toy Doll and Train Show, and the Miami Antique Toy Doll and Train Show. So I got very, very involved all over the United States and brought collectors and dealers into the Southeast.
Okay, and the most unusual piece you ever collected?
Well, there's so many, and it's really hard to really focus on one piece because there's been so many. But one of the things that I had that was interesting side story to it was an MSMA Fresh Air taxi in the original box. And of course, some of us do remember Amos and Andy and the cartoons and the TV set, TV programs and what have you. But I had a call, and the lady who was on the other end of the line said, I'm calling you from California, and I understand you have an MSMA Fresh Air taxi for sale. I said, yes, I do. She said, and she asked me questions about did it have this and did it have it that, because there were so many little pieces as part of this toy that it was easy for one of these things, if it was played with, to get. She continued to question me about the toy, and I said I gave her all the information. She said, "Well, Mr. Sinatra would like to speak with you." And at that point, I thought somebody's playing a joke on me. You know, this is anyway. So all of a sudden, I'm talking to Frank Sinatra. And he asked me pretty much the same questions that she did about, does it have this, and it have all the figures, and it doesn't have this, you know, all the little parts that were normally missing off one. And I said, are you a toy collector? He said, well, sort of a toy collector. He said, I'm buying this. Freeman Godston was one of the characters, one of the actors in the Amos Nandy series. And his daughter had never seen an Amos Nandy Fresh Air Taxi, and they're still friends of mine, even though Freeman's gone. So he bought it for her. I thought that was terrific. So that when I took the check to the bank, the gal took one look at it. She says, "You're not going to cash this, are you?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "But it's got Frank Sinatra's signature on it." And I said, "I tell you what, make a copy of it if you're really that excited about it, but cash it for me."
Did you ever sell to any other celebrities?
Yeah, I sold to people. Michael Jackson bought from me. Steve McQueen. I used to go out to the California toy shows, and he had a buyer for a while, but I told the buyer, I said, I want to deal directly with him because I knew the buyer was marking it up after he got it from me to take it to Steve McQueen. So I finally had the experience of going to his house and having a beer with him and talking about toys. There's a rough and tumble guy, as we all know, and a toy collector at heart. I mean, just, you know, loved the memories and the things that it brought to it.
The most you ever got for a toy?
Oh, no. Okay. Due to circumstances beyond my control. Yeah. That's a very difficult question. Let me put it like this. I have missed a couple of $500,000 deals, toy deals. So you can only imagine what the rare toys actually bring or brought. Since then, the market's gone down because all of those people, in fact, I may be the last living toy collector on the planet, but everybody, when I started collecting, I was the kid, the token Southerner that showed up in Chicago and New York and Maine and LA. So all those people are gone. I had mentioned to you about a guy who wrote several of Elvis's songs, and his name was Alan Schroeder. Finally came to me. But he started out as a writer and wrote this song, and I'm not sure which one of Elvis, you know, had to be a hit. It was an Elvis song. I'm not sure which one it was, but evidently that gave him enough revenue to where he ended up as a booking agent and as a personal manager. Barry White was one of his people, and there's a whole list of people that he booked and did business with. But he was a big-time toy collector, he and his wife. They're both gone now. But,
all right. What about toy sculpture? I mean, metal sculpture.
No, well, it's really all kinds of sculptures. I've done. I look at everything basically as art, and but in this particular case, when you mentioned metal sculpture, I saw a piece that a guy had done out of New York, a guy by the name of Bowie. That was his name. Had done this metal sculpture, Starburst, and it was pricey to say the least. It was like $700, and I kept looking at it, and I wanted it, coveted it, and I looked at it and said, I could do this if I had a torch. So I went out and bought an acetylene torch, taught myself how to keep from blowing myself up with it, and began doing sculptures. Now, you can't copy, you can't duplicate it, I'll put it like that. You can copy the basic design, and that's what I did, and continued to go from there. But I've done pieces. I did a piece for Gulf Oil Company in Atlanta, and it was 27 by 35 feet, and I had to do that in panels, because I actually built it in panels in smaller pieces, 3 to 4 foot in diameter, on my patio, and would take them down and hang the thing, and then I would go do another piece and hang it. And when I finished, it was an incredible offering. I was real proud of that. But I've seen my sculpture pop up mostly in Atlanta. It's where the most of it shows up, because that's where I did the largest amount of it. But like so many things, you get to where, you know, you run at the end of your rope. And by the way, just recently I bought another acetylene torch, and art is great.
And what else have you done that your fans might not know of?
Well, I've driven race cars. There was a racetrack over in Atlanta, Georgia, at the end of 14th Street in Atlanta, called Peach Bowl Speedway. It was a quarter-mile dirt track, and I worked with a car dealer, and we decided to build a race car. And I, of course, was not really skilled or qualified to drive a race car. You know, I'd been drag racing, you know, at places, but I had never done anything like this of this magnitude, where you get killed, I'll put it like that. And so we built a car and took it out to Peach Bowl Speedway and gave it to a qualified driver that my godfather, who I was working for, knew. And the guy jumped in the car and made a lap, and the engine stalled. And we went out and got the car cranked up for him again. He made another lap, and the thing died again on the opposite side of the area, the pit area, you know, the opposite side of that. So I ran out there to get the car cranked again. As I did, he got out of the car and started walking toward me and tossed me his helmet. And he said, "You drive that blank thing." And I got in it, and I went racing. And I raced every weekend, all summer, every Friday night. There was that guy in that yellow car, you know, with everybody trying to run him off the track, of course, because I wasn't one of the good old boys, and I wouldn't drink moonshine before I drove my car, so I was not readily accepted into that group. But I did that and had write-ups about it, and have had pictures of Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I've always been somewhat of a publicity hound. I think back about the first photograph that I ever had in the paper. It was in the Birmingham News, oddly enough, but on Green Springs Highway, as it comes off the mountain, off the Homewood side of the mountain, a cattle truck, this was before the interstate, a cattle truck had turned over with yearling bulls, and they were scattered all over the side of that mountain. Well, I heard about that. I was up at my grandmother's house up on Tyler Road, and came tearing down there, and had a rope in the car, and I saw the photographer from the Birmingham News. I said, "If I throw a rope around one of these yearling bulls, take my picture." He said, "No problem." Well, I did, but I didn't know that they can pull harder on asphalt than I can, you know, dig in. And this thing was dragging me. I was locked in position, and this is photograph, it's another photograph, but I was locked in position as it drug me down the road. It said, "Shoot, please shoot now. Either shoot the cow or shoot me, but shoot, you know, do something." But I've always done that. I had write-ups about my toy collecting when I lived in Homewood, and it blossomed into, you know, as it turns out, blossomed into almost a side career. I really enjoyed it.
Anything else you want to say?
Well, when we talked about sculpting, now I'm doing free-form concrete castings, making yard and garden masks, and a lot of different things. Each one is signed by me. I initial them and date them, and faces like you would place in your garden. People would walk by and suddenly there's a face on the ground looking back up at you. So that's something I've enjoyed doing. But I paint and work with other materials, wood, and build old tables, rebuild tables, I should say.
Okay, and if somebody want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Well, they can look at our website, LarryandTheLoafers.com. My phone number is on there, our contact phone number at 205-261-8397. And we're constantly changing that website and adding to it, and also we have, you know, I've got music on YouTube and have a Facebook page. So we're out there. We're still around. You're never too old to rock and roll.
All right. Good evening.